whatsoever. And Dan,
do we have to talk about anything tonight? We just take the rest of the night off?
Yeah, let's talk about, as Brett will tell you later, I was more into the WNBA draft than I was this hockey game at points.
Yeah, Brett, who went first overall? Let us know.
Yeah, everybody in the chat, Paige Beckers, come on now, Paige Beckers, keep up to date. But Dan, pretty simple breakdown of this one tonight. That game sucked. The Oilers got pumped. Already down a forward to start that game. You lose a defenseman in Darnell Nurse. Now that's by his own doing. This game turned into a ref show. It was won in the first period, continued along, and then it was even those Amazon commentators noticed and went, what are we're just swallowing the whistles all of a sudden in the third period? And I mean, hey, we all just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off of that one. And once again, million minor penalties. Dan, that's all she wrote. I'm happy that one's over with. Only one more game to the NHL playoffs. But Dan, instant vibe check. Like Psycho's kind of said there in the chat, big picture, who cares? It's just one game. But the home ice dream, it's dead. It's DOA. It's over. They're going to have to beat the LA Kings on the road.
Yeah, I always kind of wax poetic about this city and really do feel like Edmontonians and Edmonton Oilers fans recognize effort and a good attempt at coming out and playing the game there. We can talk about how it was an AHL lineup. They still are a good squad that we put out there, and they got just kind of trounced tonight. It's one of those ones that you just kind of throw it out at the end of the day. But you can't help but being a little bit disappointed in seeing them just not really have much of anything to show. The LA Kings were able to take it to them at every facet of the game. The power play was one of the more hapless parts of the game for them, in a game when there was a parade to the penalty box for both sides, as well as the Oilers with their self-inflicted penalties. But yeah, just a frustrating thing. And yeah, admittedly, the first time that I've watched an Amazon broadcast this season in its entirety, and I've heard a lot of positive about it. I didn't really feel like it was game-changing, other than maybe the score bug is kind of cool.
The score bug's kind of cool. I don't know if it's just me and my eyeballs, but I think the ice is just brighter when it's on Amazon Prime. I've seen it on all these games. Commentators, let's just put it nicely, they are not Jack and Louis DeBrusque. And I will leave it at that. We'll wait till I'm going to get to a little side of Brett's beef on the Amazon Prime broadcast as well. And it's probably just me. But my picture quality it would never need to buffer. It would just get choppy and like shitty quality. And then it goes back to good. And once again, that might just be a me internet thing. Either way, not the biggest Amazon Prime fan. Only one game left to go in the regular season. Should be done with Amazon Prime games now. But Dan, the reason you're saying there's just throw this one out, right, is because the Edmonton Oilers did not have the playoff roster out there tonight. But let me tell you, that didn't stop it from having playoff energy out there this evening. From the get-go, the two teams were going at it. It was very, very physical to start the game. Everybody was finishing their checks and getting a little bit involved in it all. Gets kicked off, the parade the box, the everything. Philip Deneau's on the bench, trying to get involved on the ice, trying to yank Corey Perry's stick out of his hand. He gets called. Connor Brown, at one point, he's out on the ice a little hot-headed, looking for some vengeance. Darnell Nurse, Janmark were both beating up Warren Fogle, their old friend, their old teammate at one point. Then things evolved even more so. We saw Darnell Nurse take, there's no other way to put it, a cheap shot. You could argue two cheap shots to the back of Quentin Byfield's head. I would just say one. The second one, when he's already down on the ice, obviously, they review it. Darnell Nurse gets thrown out of the hockey game for 5 minutes. Lots of discussion on the suspension. We could wait for that, for the good, the bad, and the oily. But this game had scrums after every whistle, a lot of animosity out there, a lot of bad blood. It just had that playoff energy, right? This was Game 1 of round 1. No, just kidding, because the Oilers didn't have McDavid or Draisaitl. But the Oilers lineup, incredibly depleted coming into this one. They're undermanned. You could tell they were frustrated as the game went along. Now, Wes McCauley turned that into a complete ref show. As Brad will tell you, no one's there to see you, zebras and stripes. But I do want to give the Oilers credit. I mean, they got whomped in this hockey game, but they never really backed down, right? They were never going to back down. They needed to set a tone, I will say, for game one of the NHL playoffs, not let this team walk all over you. And if you're going to get blown out, at least go down swinging. I thought at points, I really, really enjoyed the Edmonton Oilers push back in this one. But Dan, thoughts on the Oilers non-playoff roster? But that felt like a playoff game with all the animosity.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably Max Jones's best game or most noticeable game I've seen out of him since he's joined this team. And I think that it's something that I've been on this show a few times and been demanding and asking for some team toughness. And you definitely saw it throughout the lineup tonight. Not a lot of scrums that ended where you felt like LA was the getting the better of the Oilers in those moments. And yeah, it's one of those things when it comes to the refereeing that I really just feel like when you've got rivals like LA and Edmonton together and you call the game as tight as you did in the first period, giving 8 penalties out, it's a recipe for losing the plot. And that's exactly what happened in the second period. And then, you, as you mentioned, it's as if they then just decided to call an entirely new game in the third period. And fans once again are left wondering, are we meeting quotas here, or are we trying to referee a game and let these guys play the National Hockey League game, which includes a lot of physicality and a lot of tit for tat kind of exchanges here and there that don't necessarily require a minor penalty every time.
I'll say in this game that the refs were consistent. They were consistently soft as baby shit, in my opinion. Once again, not why the Oilers lose 5-0, but I mean, the power plays did have an impact on this hockey game. They were not afraid to make calls. In my opinion, it became the ref show. The crowd was fucking giving it to the Stripes at one point. I loved every bit of it. The Oilers were called for 3 minor penalties in the first 10 minutes, 4 minors in the first period in total, giving LA chance to capitalize. They do more so, but LA kind of did the same thing for the Oilers. They had 4 minor penalties of their own in the first period in total. Edmonton finishes with 53 PIMs on the evening. The LA Kings, 16 of them. Quick math, 69 PIMs on the evening. That's why we wanted that for the super chat. But refs, I will say, from the get-go, were very we're calling this one tight. I disagreed with it because these two teams are about to play in game one of the NHL playoffs. So many of those are not going to be called when the calendar turns and it hits the postseason there. And I just thought it was soft. They were going to take the third man in. They were going to call the last slash. We saw Corey Perry get a misconduct as well. The Darnell Nurse one deserved everything that it got, in my opinion. You can't be doing that. That is the definition of a dirty, cheap shot. Frustrations boiled over at points. As I said, power plays had a big effect in the game.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.